Eisenhower's next offensive would start with a succession of 3 major assaults to advance to the west bank of the Rhine. After crossing the river, the vital manufacturing industries of the Ruhr would be cut off to deprive Germany of the means to fight on. The first of Eisenhower's 3 assaults, a pincer move, was to be by Montgomery's 21st Army Group, with the U.S. 9th Army attacking across the River Ruhr in Operation Grenade, and the 1st Canadian Army striking southeast between the rivers Rhine and Maas in Operation Veritable. Montgomery wanted the British 30 Corps under General Horrocks to carry out Operation Veritable and placed it under command of General Crewar's 1st Canadian Army. The Germans blew up the retaining dikes north of the Reichswald, restricting the front available to some 8 kilometers. Rapid movement could not be expected in the dense forest of the Reichswald. Other ground was mainly low-lying or waterlogged. There were only 2 good roads. In spite of all this, and because of Canadian pressure, Horrocks attacked with 5 divisions. The main thrust by the 15th Scottish Division would be towards Cleve, over the relatively dry ground between the forest and the floods. The 2nd Canadian Division would open up the main road behind the Scots, and the high ground in the Reichswald dominating the route would be taken by the 53rd Welsh Division. The 3rd Canadian Division was to clear the flooded area, and the 51st Highland Division would open up the other main road. Ready in reserve were the 43rd Wessex and the Guards Armour Divisions.
Hello BBC. This is Chester Wilmot speaking from a hill looking down into Germany. Everything's firing today, as perhaps you'll have gathered. Not only the regular guns, but what the gunners call the pepper pot, made up of ack-ack guns, tank guns, anti-tank guns, heavy machine guns, that just spray the German defences and add to the discomfort. And those shells have been crashing down on German pillboxes and gun positions, mortar positions, headquarters, roads, concentration areas and so on. These have been pounded by well over 1,000 guns.
It was the biggest artillery bombardment yet, the Northwest European campaign, which lasted 5.5 hours. Then, at 10:30 hours, infantry and armor crossed the start lines. It had started to rain.
They moved slowly through the mud that was over their boot tops. Mud that sucked their feet back. Lead and clinging mud that wrapped itself round their boots and made every step slow and heavy. But even so, there was purpose in their step. The Canadian Army was really attacking into Germany for the first time.
Come on, up front!
In spite of these conditions, the infantry made good progress and kept pace with their barrages. The devastating artillery fire had cut all enemy line communications and prevented the use of runners. German troops were found overwhelmed and demoralized. The majority only too happy to surrender. For the armor, it was a different story, for the waterlogged ground soon gave way and the majority bogged and blocked the routes. But a few tanks and special armor did manage to struggle forward to make crossings over anti-tank ditches and trenches, and to flame out a few pockets of enemy resistance.
Monty launched a big push on February 8th to clear the Reichswald forest as a prelude to sweeping to the Rhine. In our area, various deceptive measures had to be employed to make the enemy think that a major crossing of the Maas was to be attempted. Piles of bridging equipment, truckloads of assault boats, dummy gun positions, recorded noises, all were part of the big plan. Operation Veritable was going well, and about mid-February, the news arrived that we were to have part in the next operation, which would bring the forces of the 21st Army Group to the bank of the Rhine. For Eisenhower said he hoped to fight the major and decisive battle of the West on this side of the Rhine.
3rd Canadian Infantry Division, nicknamed the Water Rats, their operations were made possible by these amphibious tracked vehicles named Buffalo. Capable of carrying personnel or light vehicles and armed with machine guns and any other weapons commanders could lay their hands on. Maintaining direction in the dark wasn't easy, but one commander solved the problem by calling for a stunk on the objective and following the resulting fires. In shallow water, anti-personnel mines and wire played havoc with the tracks. Currents quickened as the floods rose. The targets were strafed, infantry was landed, and 3rd Canadian Division cleared the villages one by one.
They've hung out the washing on the Siegfried Line. Now in the massive new offensive, Operation Veritable, troops of the 1st Canadian Army are ruthlessly winkling out the enemy from the ruins of the old medieval town of Cleve. It's all part of the plan to destroy Hitler's armies west of the Rhine and send Allied columns streaking into the heart of the Reich. The men who direct this operation, Field Marshal Montgomery and General Crerar of the 1st Canadian Army, are making a valiant bid to force that western door to Berlin.
The 47th Panzer Corps comprised of the Wehrmacht's best divisions, 116th Panzer and the 15th Panzer Grenadier. They had been severely weakened by the Ardennes action, which left them with about 30 tanks, and there were many recent infantry replacements. But the artillery was in good shape, and the headquarters staff immensely experienced. The German counterattack began at 0900 hours and continued throughout day 5, but without success. Leading units from the 43rd Wessex and the 15th Scottish Divisions made further progress, so at nightfall, von Lüttwitz disengaged and prepared to fend a low ridge feature here. In the meantime, the 51st Highland Division captured Gnep, but more importantly, Heckens, which enabled this road to be used to ease the critical supply situation caused by the floods. The 3rd Canadian Infantry Division made steady progress with its amphibious operations. As the division advanced, a line of smoke was extended along the Rhine to screen Allied activities from the enemy on the far bank. Eventually, the smoke screen stretched almost continuously for nearly 27 kilometers.